Hey guys, today we're going to go through lesson 7.6, the first half of it. You'll need your notebook and a calculator, so you should be writing these problems in your notebook, or you can grab a blank sheet from your teacher if you like the blank sheets that we work on. Our learning goal for today is we can solve two-step inequalities. So instead of just one step that looked like this, now we're going to add a second step. So maybe like 4x plus 2 is bigger than or equal to 16. So now there's going to be two steps. So our goal is we can solve, graph, and write inequalities. All right, so if you're in your notebook, you might want to put a title, two-step inequalities, on the top of a page. Okay, I'm doing that right now. You can label your table of contents and then draw a box with four boxes so you can do this problem together with me. So our first one, today we're going to work on solving two-step inequalities, which are just like two-step equations. So your first step, like we've been doing, is you're going to draw the line down through the equal sign. All right, so remember our goal is we want to get the 2x by itself. So I need to get rid of everything else that's over there. So I need to get rid of a plus 6. So I'm going to subtract 6 or add in a negative 6 to both sides. That's going to cancel. So I'm left with negative 2x equals 6. Now we just did one-step inequality, so you guys should feel okay with these. Your last step is going to be to divide by negative 2. I'm going to be left with x equals, if I do 6 divided by negative 2, I get negative 3. There is my kind of boundary point, or my special number that goes on my number line. So if I'm going to go to my number line, I'll put 0 here in the middle. I'll put negative 3 over here, maybe positive 3. Maybe I'll even add negative 6 to my number line. All right, you guys should know your dot goes above the negative 3. Because it says greater than or equal to, I'm going to fill in my circle. All right, now I'm going to choose a number to test to see if the number's bigger than negative 3 work or the number's smaller. So I'm going to test a 0. Now, I always box the number I test so my teacher knows what I'm testing. I'm going to do negative 2 times 0 plus 6 is bigger than or equal to 12. It's like doing a check. If you're not sure where I got that from, I got it from this top equation up here. Now let's actually work it out. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 6 is 6. Is 6 bigger than or equal to 12? No, that is not true. So 0 did not work. I'm not going to go towards the 0. So I'm going to go the opposite way. So I'm going to draw my line going this way. So all the numbers smaller than negative 3 are going to work in this inequality. So my final solution is going to be all the numbers smaller than or equal to negative 3 work in this inequality. All right, let's try another one. Again, you can do this in your notebook or you can do this on a blank sheet of the inequality paper. So let's go ahead and draw our line down. Again, our goal is to get the 5x or the negative 5x by itself. So I need to do the opposite of a negative 12. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. One side cancels. Over here I get 20 equals negative 5x. I've got one more step. I'm going to divide by negative 5. Okay, if I do that, I end up with a negative 4 for kind of my special number. So that's really the first number that works, negative 4. So I'm going to come over to my number line. Maybe I'll put 0 here. Here's negative 4, positive 4, negative 8, positive 8. Okay, so I've got some numbers on my number line. My dot's going to go above the negative 4 because negative 4 works in this one. I filled it in because of the greater than or equal to sign. All right, now I need to see, hey, which numbers work? Do the numbers bigger than negative 4 work or the numbers smaller than negative 4 work? So let's pick a test point. I'll choose something different this time. I'm going to choose 8. So I'm going to box 8. Okay, and I'm going to rewrite the problem. So it says 8, is that bigger than or equal to negative 5? Instead of an x, I'll put 8 minus 12. Okay, now I need to work this out. So negative 5 times 8 is negative 40, and then minus 12 more. If that's tricky to you, go ahead and change it to add the opposite. And now negative 40 plus negative 12 is negative 52. Is 8 bigger than or equal to negative 52? Well, yes, that is true. 8 is definitely bigger than negative 52. So 8 does work, so I am going to draw my arrow going towards the 8. So my final solution is all the numbers bigger than or equal to -4 work in this inequality. All right, so our next one is going to be with decimals. So you still do it the same way. So let's try decimal one. Let's draw our line down. Well, first maybe copy this if you haven't. Again, either notebook or on the blank inequality sheet, your choice. And let's try this decimal one. So first step, I want to get the 4.7x by itself. So let's do the opposite of subtracting 3.25 and add 3.25 to both sides. Okay, that cancels. So I'm going to do 10.85 plus 3.25. I end up with 14.1 equals 4.7x. Right now, this is a multiplication problem, so I'm going to do the opposite and divide by 4.7, divide by 4.7. Okay, so I'm going to have to go to my calculator and do 14.1 divided by 4.7. Nice, easy number. It ends up being 3. Okay, so that's kind of like my boundary point. That's the first number that works on my number line. So I'm going to have 0. Maybe I put 3, 6, -3. Let's put a dot above the 3. I'm going to fill it in again because it said equals 2. So now I have to figure out, hey, what works in the inequality? Does like 4, 5, 6, 7 work, or does my negative numbers, smaller, work? So I'm going to pick one to test. This time I'll test 0. I like to test 0 if I can. So I'm going to test 0. So go back to the original problem and let's write 4.7 times 0 minus 3.25. Is that less than or equal to 10.85? All right, go ahead, pause the video, and I want you to work this out. All right, 4.7 times 0 is 0. Take away 3.25 is -3.25. Is that less than or equal to 10.85? Well, it is, so that's true. So I need to draw my arrow going towards the 0. That means all numbers smaller than 3, right? Because if I look at these numbers here, these are all numbers smaller than 3 this way. So my final solution is x is smaller than or equal to 3. So 3 works, 2 works, 1 works, 0 works. -1, -2, -3, all of those numbers work in this inequality. All right, the next one that we're going to do is a fraction one. So again, please copy this one down wherever you are doing it. And let's try it out together. Now this one you might need a little more space, so you might have to go into the next box or just make your box a little bit bigger as we do this fraction one. All right, so first step, our goal is we want to get the 3/4 x by itself. So let's go ahead and get rid of the -1/2. I'm going to add a half to both sides. Oops, I didn't write that very well. Rewrite that. So I'm going to add a half. Okay, that cancels, so I'm left with 3/4 x over here equals, now before I can add a half, I'm going to get a common denominator. So I know 8 for 2 and 8. Okay, so to get from 2 to 8, it's times 4. So I'll times 4, I get 4/8. Now I can add those. So if I add 3/8 plus 4/8, that's 7/8. Okay, now again, there's not a ton of space here, so I apologize. So my next step, we haven't done this in a while, so let's see if we can remember how to do it. When you have a fraction out front and it's multiplying, you can actually multiply by the reciprocal. So you can flip it and multiply by 4/3. Now the 4's cancel and the 3's cancel, and I just get x equals, over here I'm going to times by 4/3. If I do that, I'll just go straight across on this one. I get 28 over 24. Now I should really try to simplify that. So if I do 28, I think 4 goes into both of those. So let's divide by 4. I end up with 7 over 6. So I can just keep that answer, 7, 6. All right, I'll write it a little bit better up here. All right, so let's go to our number line and put 0. Now 7, 6, that's the same as 1 and 1, 6. You guys should be able to change that. So that's really pretty close to 0. So that's 1 and 1, 6. Maybe I'll just put 10 way over here. Here's -1 and 1, 6. All right, my dot goes over the 1 and 1, 6. I'm going to leave it open this time. Let's pick a number to test. 0 is a pretty easy one to test. So let's test 0 again. So I'm going to do 3/4 times 0 minus 1/2. Is that bigger than 3/8? Well, 3/4 times 0 is 0. Take away 1/2 is negative 1/2. Is negative 1/2 bigger than 3/8? Well, no negative number is bigger than a positive number, so the answer is no. So do not go towards the 0. I want to go the other way. So all my numbers bigger than 1 and 1/6 work. So I'm going to show x is bigger than 1 and 1/6. Or you could have wrote x is bigger than 7/6. That would be fine as well. All right, let's try one more together just so we have one more fraction one. So again, you may copy this one down and draw your line down. Okay, your first step is you want to get that x by itself. So let's get rid of minus 5/6 by adding 5/6 to both sides. Okay, again, I know there's not a ton of space. So when I do that, I get 2/3 x equals, we need to get a common denominator for 2 and 6. Well, 2 goes into 6, so let's make it out of 6. So I'll times it by 3, times by 3, I get 3/6, plus 5/6 is 8/6. Okay, now I could simplify that. I'll just worry about that later. So let's do our last step. So if I want to cancel out that 2/3 times x, I can actually times it by 3/2. I'll times this by 3/2 as well. Okay, I'll just go straight across. So 8 times 3 is 24, 6 times 2 is 12. And now, hopefully you guys can notice this, I can actually do 24 divided by 12. That equals 2. So my final solution, I can't really fit it very well, is x equals 2. All right, let's go to our number line. So let's put, maybe here's 2, here's 3, here's -1. All right, 2 is kind of like our boundary point. The number 2 does not work, so it doesn't have an equal sign, so I'm not going to fill that in. Let's test a number. Easiest number to test usually is 0. So let's test 0 again. I'm going to do 2/3 times 0 minus 5/6. Is that less than 1/2? All right, well, 2/3 times 0 is 0. So 0 minus 5/6, is that less than 1/2? If I do 0, take away 5/6, I end up with negative 5/6. Is that less than 1/2? Well, yeah, a negative number is less than a positive number, so yes. So 0 works. Let's go towards the 0. And then my final solution is all the numbers smaller than 2 work. 2 doesn't work, but everything's smaller. So I'm going to write x is less than 2. All right, now that you've seen a couple examples, now you're going to try some of these problems. So you are going to get a worksheet to practice. It's the 7-6 write and solve 2-step inequalities. You're going to complete both sides. Your teacher should have the answer key if you want to check. If you run out of space, feel free to grab another sheet of paper. If this is not enough room for you to do your work, just use another sheet of paper to do that first step, and then do everything else on this part. All right, if you have questions, please check in with your teacher.